it to our resources page so that you can access it later if you need to refresh what we went over, or if you want to point a colleague to it or a team member to it, you'll have the opportunity. It will take us a little bit of time to get that converted over to our YouTube channel and posted on our resource page. So it won't be ready immediately when we finish the training today, but check back in the next few days, early next week, and it should be ready and available to you. So welcome everyone. Today's topic is going to be how to submit your URFO letter of intent in InfoEd. My name is Stacy Wisniewski. I'm part of the systems administrative team for this initiative. I'm on the call today with Jamie Van Natta and Rick Francis, and I will give you a little bit of context here for who we are. We work collaboratively on all things related to InfoEd and supporting the users of InfoEd. I'm mostly responsible for the training and support, so I'll be leading the training today. Jamie Van Natta is our resident systems expert, so she knows all of the nuts and bolts and inner workings of InfoEd. And Dr. Rick Francis is our guiding light and shining star, leading us in the research enterprise and improvements to that, and how we can support all of you who are trying to do very cool things in your research agendas. If you have questions or issues at any point while you're trying to work through InfoEd and get things going for yourself, we have a dedicated mailbox, infoed@utoledo.edu, that is monitored by all of us, and we will be able to make sure that you get a timely response for any questions that you're putting into that box. And also requests for additional training or one-on-one help, that infoed@utoledo.edu box is a great way to connect with us for a variety of needs or issues you may be experiencing. Just some housekeeping. You can turn on live captioning for yourself on the Teams. So for your side of this connection, if you go to the top menu bar, there's the 3 dots, ellipsis that says more, and if you drop that down, you can find where to turn on captioning if that is a help to you while you're listening today. Please feel free to post questions in the chat. We have folks monitoring that. And also, if you have a burning question or issue, it is perfectly okay with us if you raise your hand or interrupt and unmute yourself to ask that question, and we will address it in the moment if we need to. But in the meantime, if you have your microphone on mute, that does help limit the echo between our machines and makes the audio better for everyone involved. So let's get started. What we're going to talk about today, first of all, what can InfoEd do for you? It's a powerful tool, and it's much more comprehensive than what we're going to dive into today. So we would encourage you to stay tuned for more information about trainings and things that are coming up to help you make the most of your InfoEd capabilities. But we are going to highlight a few things specifically that are true value adds with InfoEd that will hopefully be exciting for you on the researcher end of things. Today specifically, we're going to talk about the letter of intent process and how that is going to look putting those into InfoEd. It's different from what you would have done before if you've ever submitted one of these. If you're new and have never submitted one, awesome. You've only got one thing to learn, and that'll be the new thing that we're doing. Rick, do you want to chime in at that point about something?
No, I think you're doing it. You got it covered.
Okay. It looked like you unmuted, so I want to give you a chance to speak if needed. We are going to demonstrate what the letter of intent application looks like screen by screen in InfoEd, so you'll get to see that in action today. And we'll also address questions and resources. If you have questions, we will do our best to answer them today, and we will point you to resources that are currently available or will soon be available for you in support of learning this new system. Some of the benefits of InfoEd: it is more collaborative. It is a way for multiple people to be working on a proposal in support of one another and getting all the parts of it in there that need to be in there. So we're excited about that. Probably very helpful for all of you, especially for bigger proposals. Routing is automatic, so you will not need to chase down relevant people like department chairs, co-investigators, college deans. The system is going to handle that for you and send notifications and track the progress of that. Additionally, you will get email notifications to keep you informed of the progress of your proposal as it goes through routing and various other things that might be happening to it. So this, I think, is super helpful. I'm that person who wants to know where my pizza is between the pizzeria and my house. So I track that kind of thing just in life in general. And I think it's very helpful when you've submitted something to know what's happening with it. Additionally, all your proposals and related records will be in one place in InfoEd where you can find them and access them instead of potentially scattered across multiple platforms. Some things saved on your laptop, some things saved in OneDrive, some things saved somewhere else. This will be in one place where you can get to it easily. Also, it eliminates using the varied collection of tools that we've currently got out there, such as proposal intake form, RSP 100, the Excel budget worksheet, and the RSP cost match form. Those all have equivalents built into InfoEd that will take their place, so you don't need to keep track of all these different documents and tools. Everything you need for those processes will be built into InfoEd, which again, I think is a huge help when you're trying to collate and put together a bunch of different parts for something that you want to submit. And ultimately, eventually, once InfoEd is fully implemented, it will be, rolled out in stages. We'll get to that in a second. But ultimately and eventually, you will have a reduced processing time between when you receive your notice of award and when your account is set up, which this is all about getting those grant dollars and making them available for you to use on your project. So making that process happen as efficiently and quickly as possible, I think, is a huge benefit in switching over to InfoEd. And since I mentioned the staggered rollout for implementing InfoEd, I'm going to quick turn things over to Rick to show you a little bit more about what that rollout looks like just before we get into the demonstration of letter of intent. You want to put that up for us, Rick?
Yes, of course, that happened right when I stood up and shut my door. So just a sec here. Caught me off guard. Okay, I'm going to slide this over, click share, and now you should be able to see the page that's available to everybody, the web page. If you go to utoledo.edu and type in the word InfoEd, this will be the first result. This is our general information page about InfoEd. And down here, we've got timeline for implementation. So you can see we've the COI disclosures are expected to go through InfoEd starting next Monday. The small grants and LOIs, all the URFOs will be going through starting on Monday too. And then we've got the rollout for external awards. So grant proposals to nonprofits start after 16th of October. After 10/30, grant proposals to industry sponsors, and then local Ohio government, the opportunities provided by the state and by local government are all due after November 13th. That is to say, those proposals with the due date after that are expected to go through InfoEd. So if you keep on looking, you'll see the National Science Foundation rolls in January, and then NIH, which is our biggest single sponsor, starts in February. So we're trying to manage this rollout in such a way that everyone has a chance to learn the system, to practice in it, and to work out any little bugs or learning issues well before the deadlines for the major programs, federal programs, up till 2024. Any questions on that?
All right, so that's just a little heads up on what the schedule is going to be for our staged rollout. I gotta get my PowerPoint back where it needs to be. Give me 1 second. Of course, it likes to start over whenever I leave it. So Let's talk a little bit about the letter of intent process in general. A couple things are staying the same. Primarily, the requirements for the URFO programs and the letter of intent are staying exactly the same. Nothing has been changed in terms of what is expected for submission to one of these programs. For the letter of intent specifically, you still need to submit a project description. It still has a maximum page limit of 4 pages and should be double spaced. So there's nothing different about that. However, what is changing is that you will create the proposal, you will initiate it in InfoEd instead of submitting it via email to the urfo@utoledo.edu inbox. You'll just start from the very beginning with the proposal creation in InfoEd and work the whole process from there. You will have an opportunity in InfoEd to upload the project description. This will take the place of where you would have normally attached it to that email to urfo@utoledo.edu. You will upload it in InfoEd instead. And you will receive email confirmation immediately upon submission, letting you know that the submission was successful and received. So that, I think, is really great to know that it has landed where it needs to, and it will be moving through the process from there. So let's get started with the demonstration of what InfoEd actually looks like. When you log into InfoEd, it will take you to the tower page where you can log in using your UTED credentials. So I'm going to switch screens here to demo this site. Let me get to that real quick. I might need a second to change how I'm sharing. So let's go grab what I need now. If I can just get confirmation that everybody is seeing the InfoEd screen at this point.
Yes.
Awesome, great. So this is the portal landing page for InfoEd. And everyone who logs in as a PI, just sort of your regular user for InfoEd, is going to see a page that looks like this. You'll notice the top menu bar crossed in blue, the left menu bar on the side, and you'll see these 2 white boxes in the middle with text in them. Those white boxes are called widgets, and every user will have these 2 widgets specifically displayed permanently on your landing page, on your portal homepage. And those are financial conflict of interest disclosures and COI entity request. These 2 widgets can be moved around on the screen, but they cannot be taken off the screen. There is a button down here in the lower right called Portal Configurations, where you will see a list of additional widgets. If you want them to display on your portal home screen, you can cause that to happen. And if you want to rearrange the order of your widgets, you can do that using these column features here. So for example, instead of 2 columns, I made it so that it went back to displaying in 1 column. And then you just change what it looks like. And this is common to everyone who logs into InfoEd. You can also use the quick find if you have details about a proposal that you're specifically trying to find. That's a great feature. And you may already be familiar with Spin. This is a tool that we have had in place from InfoEd for a while now, and some of you may already be using that to find opportunities for funding. For today, we are going to go to the proposals function, click on that, and we're going to create a brand new proposal in the letter of intent fashion so everyone can see how that looks. You'll notice that this very first field populates with the name of the person who created the proposal. So InfoEd interprets that person as being the PI, and we do want the PI to be the one who initiates the letter of intent in InfoEd. So when you are the PI and you hit the create button, your name will show up in that field. I'm using a profile called Demo PI, and that is why that is listed in that field right now, as it should be. You'll also need to create a new proposal. That's what we're doing today for today's demonstration. That'll be listed at the top, so you just select that. For today, you want to choose new. There are different options there, as you can see, but we're creating a new letter of intent, so we need it to say new. And then over here, this will be an important detail. If you're applying to something that's available on the grants.gov site or from SPIN, you would select one of those two features to find your opportunity, and InfoEd would automatically pull in that opportunity. But that's not what we're doing today. We are setting up a proposal manually because this is an internal funding opportunity through the University of Toledo, and we have to search for that. So we call it URFO. It brings up your choices. The one that we want for today is URFO LOI major programs due in October. You have to select this. You can't just type it in the text box. You have to select it, or InfoEd won't recognize that that's the one you wanted. So we've selected the thing we want. You'll see some additional hints and tips there that you can read when you have a chance. For today, we want to call our proposal practice proposal or LOI training. Got to keep it simple. Plenty of other things to learn that are new. For the LOI specifically, dates are not really relevant. This does make me a little bit crazy on the display. I'm using my laptop at home, which has a smaller screen, and it's not showing the bottom part. But you can type in dates via the calendar function, or you can type them in by putting in the numbers, and it will convert it to the format that we need. So we just give it those. And then Jamie, can you give me a hint on how I can get this display right so I can hit the button at the bottom?
I think you're just gonna have to like kind of throw it up because it doesn't.
We go.
Yeah, yeah.
Got it.
Small screens are tough. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. We got it to work. So once you've got your dates in, which for LOI really are not relevant, I picked October 17 because that's when the letter of intent are due. And if you submit after that, that's going to be problematic for you. So we'll just use that as our date for today. But really, dates are not super relevant for this particular proposal. You have to put them in the field, but they don't really mean anything. Then when you create the proposal, this is where InfoEd is creating the record and setting things up for you to actually submit the application. Got to give it a minute. And then you get to this very first screen, which is called our setup questions. And you'll see some instructions on this page. And we would encourage you to not skip past this, but to read through it. For example, at the top here, we've got those blue hyperlinks with guidelines to the URFO in general and guidelines specifically for the letter of intent programs that are available. We would encourage you to review those and make sure that you are qualified for the programs that you're applying for. And then this middle section has a little short description of the two things you'll need to do in your LOI application. The first has to do with personnel, and you want to make sure you've understood the requirements for your URFO program correctly, because personnel can be a very important part. I know one of the programs requires a minimum of 4 people from 2 different departments, and if you submit your URFO LOI without meeting those requirements, that could be a little bit problematic for you as well. And then the second thing you'll have to do in the URFO application is to submit your letter of intent, again, maximum 4 pages. And once you have those 2 sections done, then you'll hit the complete checkbox. We've got that right here in the upper right corner, and move on to submit for review, which is what's going to submit this to the route and get it going in the next stages of the process. If you have any questions using the system along the way, you can reach out to us at the infoed@utoledo.edu inbox and let us know, and we will get back to you as soon as we are able. And then once your application is complete, you'll hit save and continue to finish everything off for the day. So we're just going to hit save on this page so that it knows I read the things I needed to do. And we're going to start on personnel. We have put these sections in this order for specific reasons, so you definitely want to do the personnel tab first. You'll notice this field up here, prime, is preloaded. You can't change that, but that is what it needs to be saying. And also as PI, you are a key person, so you want it to say that. And then you'll add any additional people. We're going to do that in a second, and designate their role and hit save. But before we do that, I want you to see that as the PI, you created the record, and also it already populated you into the list of senior and key personnel. And that is as it should be also. So just take a note there. A lot of these additional fields across the personnel screen for the PI are not super relevant right now, but just pointing out that they're there. So for adding a person, I need a practice person. Let's go with John. Oh, we're gonna use our practice person, John PI, to add him as a personnel to this LOI. We are gonna call him a co-investigator. So we pick his role, we hit save, InfoEd does its thing. And now you see John PI has been added as a co-investigator, and you can see some various details and information about him. And that's about all you have to do for personnel for the LOI. Person months is not relevant for this particular application, so you can just leave that alone. When this page is completed and you've added all your people, you're going to check the completed box up here. And then you can move on to your letter of intent after that. You will notice
I'm
Go ahead, Jamie.
going to insert just one little thing,
Sure.
and that is not everyone has a profile in InfoEd right now. We have brought in the researcher population that we already have, but if you attempt to find someone and they're not in the list, please do send us an email at that infoed@utoledo.edu email address. Provide a first name, last name, rocket number if you can, UTED if you can, because those things will speed up the process. But we've gotten most of the profiles. We think we're probably about 90% there, but you may encounter some situations where a person that you want to add to your LOI is not currently in InfoEd. So again, just send us an email with as much information as you can provide, and we will get that profile set up for them as soon as we possibly can.
Yes, thank you for that reminder. And that's also reminds me that I wanted to mention that you want to start this process sooner rather than later, just in case you come across a little hiccup like that, so that you have time to reach out to us. We have time to verify who you need added and get them set up, and then you have time to go in and complete your proposal. So definitely keep that in mind, that some of these things with InfoEd are going to require a little bit of processing time, which may be slightly different than what you're used to if you've submitted proposals for LOI in the past and things were happening a little more in the moment. There will be some processing time. So reach out to us and we are happy to respond and help as much as we can along the way. Once you've selected,
I'll just add to that.
Go ahead, Rick.
So yeah, this is particularly true if you're applying for the interdisciplinary program that does have a requirement of a minimum of 4 people. So especially in that case, in order to make sure that people are in there, do start before the last day, preferably Monday. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Good reminders. And one thing I want to point out is when you hit this completed checkbox, it changes from edit mode to view mode. Now, if you realized you made an oops and needed to add an additional person, you can uncomplete. Add that person. Complete again. And it'll switch back to view. I didn't say anything inaccurate in doing that, did I, Jamie?
Not at all. All
okay.
good.
Good. Perfect. So once your personnel are complete and you've got everyone added and you've checked the completed box in the upper right corner, then you want to move on to your letter of intent page. This is where you are going to, you'll see your title, But then this is where you're going to select the specific URFO program you are applying to. The one that Rick just referenced is the Interdisciplinary Research Initiation Program. That has very specific personnel requirements, so make sure you're familiar with that. We also have the Research Innovation Program. Again, links to those two programs are available on the setup page in InfoEd, but also you can search for them on utoledo.edu and find those details as well. Your details will be listed as the principal investigator here in the middle. You have to answer this question. Are you currently a full-time tenured or tenure track faculty member at the University of Toledo? The answer to that should be yes. If the answer is no, you need to review the guidelines for the URFO programs, because that is an important part of URFO, is that you are full-time tenure or tenure track. So you should be able to answer yes to that. Click the yes and you're good to go. You see your personnel will be listed again, and you'll see a little reminder here down at the bottom of the types of information that are supposed to be included in your 4-page project description. So just, it's a little reminder here. It's in the other resource pages as well for the URFO programs, but we didn't want you to have to look a whole bunch of different places over and over again for reminders. Once you know that your project description is complete and has all the things it needs to have, then you can upload with this button down here at the bottom. You can upload as PDF or Word. PDF is a little easier for the system to process, so we encourage that, but it can handle Word as well. And I have a practice one here in my desktop, so we're gonna attach that. Once you've selected it, then you hit the upload button on the InfoEd screen. It attaches it there, and you can see down here that it shows that that attachment was added and the date and the time, so that you can know that the upload was successful. Once you've answered those couple of questions and uploaded your project description, you can hit the validate button just to make sure you haven't missed anything. This is a pretty simple form, so not a whole lot to do here. You probably won't miss anything. For more complex forms, that validate button can be a little more helpful because there's more stuff that you have to respond to. Once this page is complete, you hit the button for complete again, or you click the checkbox, I mean, and then the 2 parts of this application are done. But you haven't submitted your proposal yet because we've still got to do this last step down here, which is submit for review. When it opens, you're going to see 3 blue links. What this page is going to do is allow the system to collate your proposal into one assembled document, which makes things a lot easier for the reviewers to see everything they need to see for your proposal before they make decisions about it. What's really important for you to know on this page is when you get to it, you want to hit this build button. It's going to do its thing. We'll wait while it does. Of course, we live in a world where we've become accustomed to instantaneous digital processing, so it feels weird to have to wait.
If this had been a PDF, it would have gone faster.
Yeah, I'm sure it would have.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why we recommend using PDF. So Jamie, at this point, I'm used to another screen popping up.
Yeah, that's kind of odd. Can you click on the submit for internal review link there? It's the same screen. It's just a separate section. So something about the PDF didn't actually build. So try hitting the build button again. I know that's kind of the definition of insanity, but not there. Just in the assemble application where you were.
Oh, got it.
Yep. Oh, see, there it is. I think it did finally build, but that's okay. We can rebuild it. And now it's going to flip you down here. So hold that thought. It'll show up just in a second. There it is. Okay.
So it did its thing. It just looked a little unusual for a second there. Once the system has successfully built or collated the pieces of your application, you'll see this screen. If you want to know what it's going to look like to the reviewers, you can hit this little eyeglasses icon for a preview, and it'll show you all the pages of your application. It just sort of, you know, mashes them together in one assembled document for easy reference. You'll see that this is my, this part here, demo attachment for use with InfoEd training. That is my attachment, my practice attachment that I put on this proposal. Yours, of course, is going to say a whole lot more because that's your project description with all those categories that you have to address in the maximum 4 pages and double spaced requirements for that. But that's where the attachment is. And then if you want to see specifically just the attachment, you can also click on the eyeglasses for that. I don't know why it didn't display, but that's all right. It is there. And then once you've got the whole thing assembled and you've seen this screen, you go over here to the right and you hit submit. You'll notice there's one and only one route available for you to choose. You cannot pick the wrong one. It's picked for you. All you have to do is hit the submit button. Let it finish opening. And then once you get this screen, it's going to show you the steps in the route and who is responsible for taking action on those steps. This is exactly as it should look for right now. And then you hit the submit button again. And this is what sends your proposal into the route for those next steps to take place. Don't navigate away from that screen until it's done. And then when it has been successfully submitted to the route, you will get this screen down here at the bottom that says active routing progress, where you can see where your proposal is in that routing sequence. Additionally, over here, you have this scroll icon. This is more like a history where you can see where your proposal has been as well as where it's headed next. It hasn't been much of anywhere yet, so there's not a lot to see here. If reviewers have put in comments, this would also be a place where comments would display with the name of the commenter. So just pointing that out for you. And once you have all that done, pretty much that's it for submitting an URFO LOI. You can hit the save button if you're a little bit paranoid like me and just want to make sure that all is good to go. Although I don't think save is required right there, but I'm in the habit of hitting it. Jamie, before I hit done and show folks what else they need to know today, anything else about the URFO InfoEd application?
I think you've covered it all.
Awesome. Great. Before we navigate away from this, does anyone in attendance today have a question that they would like to address or ask right now? All right. Chime in if things change or if a question comes up in a couple of minutes. We're going to click done. That's going to close you out of that screen, which was your application for the URFO LOI proposal. We're back here to the InfoEd main landing page, what's called the portal. And all you have to do at this point then is log out. You might get you shouldn't get this message about the status of the logout because I had to log in through a different way for today's demonstration. You should just be able to log out and close your tab for InfoEd. But let us know if anything weird happens with all of that for you. So I'm going to bounce back to my PowerPoint at this point so everyone can see the last little bits of what we want to share with you today. I have to reset the PowerPoint. Thank you for your patience while I do that. Teams has come a long way, but it's got a few things that it could still enhance if they ever decide to do that. Okay, so again, this was the login page to InfoEd. You're going to use your UTED credentials to get into it. And some reminders for what's coming for you in the future, specifically next week. We have several trainings happening on the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th. If you are a department chair or a dean, you may be especially interested in the training on the 3rd for the endorsement process. Although there are some other folks who do need to endorse, this would be for anyone who previously had to sign an RSP 100. That endorsement training might be useful to you. So we would encourage you to check that out if it is something you need to know about. Everyone will need to submit their conflict of interest disclosures in InfoEd beginning on Monday. So we have a training for that next week on the 4th. Even if your disclosures are current and not expired, or you recently did them in the old system, you will have to do them again in InfoEd. We're not able to bring over any legacy disclosures, so everyone's got to start fresh in InfoEd starting on Monday. And we have a training for that next week. And then something that may be of interest to many of you, given that folks are sometimes applying for multiple things, we have a bigger sort of meat and potatoes training for InfoEd proposal and budget, which is going to be your more typical use of InfoEd, and you're going to see a lot more pages and details related to your typical type of proposal. That will be taking place next week, and we would definitely encourage you to participate if you anticipate you're going to be submitting some bigger projects and need to know how the whole thing works. And this goes in for folks who submit their letter of intent and then are, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Rick, if you submit your letter of intent and then you are invited to apply, there will be a bigger application and process you have to complete than what we saw today. Yes?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, anyone submitting a full proposal, internal or external, would benefit from that proposal budget orientation session.
That's what I was thinking. So I wanted to make sure I pointed that out. And then in case this applies to you, we are doing an in-person training early November, specifically for folks planning to submit to NSF. It's going to be over on the engineering side of campus. So you're welcome to come for that as well. It's going to be a lot of the same nuts and bolts of how InfoEd works for proposals and budgeting in general. We're just targeting that a little bit to the NSF folks. So that's training that's coming up. But let me also say, we are here to support you in the best way that we can. Jamie, Rick, and I work very collaboratively and closely as a team, and we are happy to meet with anyone one-on-one to give you more of a step-by-step walkthrough if that is a benefit to you. Or if you are a department or unit head, department chair, college dean, we're happy to work with you as well in bringing some training specifically to your unit. Or if you're a member of a unit and you believe your colleagues would benefit from hearing this in a more of a context-specific setting, advocate for that in your department and let us know if that's something your department is interested in, and we will work on scheduling something with you to meet the needs that you have. For more information, and I see some of the chat conversation has already gone this direction, we have an InfoEd FAQ page. It is growing every day by the resources that we're adding to it. So we've got some typical questions a person might ask about InfoEd. We have a list of our upcoming trainings. We have that display of our rollout schedule. We also have help guides that we are posting for these different processes and tools in InfoEd. As they get created, we are posting them, and we will be posting links to the training videos from that page. So our InfoEd explainer page is going to be kind of a one-stop shop for all the support and resources that we currently have available. If you have suggestions for resources you think would be beneficial to you and your colleagues, feel free to reach out to us and we will see what we can do to develop some things. And also, if you see something on there that is an issue or a problem, let us know about that too, because we want to make sure that page is as useful and user-friendly to you as possible. So we're open to suggestions and input on that. Anytime you have a question or a concern or suggestion or a request, feel free to reach out to us at the infoed@utoledo.edu inbox. Again, all three of us monitor that, and we will be as responsive as we can be to the questions and messages that come into that. So that brings us to the end of our demonstration and our overview of InfoEd. We do have time left. We scheduled this till 11 and we can stick around longer. If folks have questions, feel free to unmute yourself, put more questions in the chat if you need to. If you don't have any questions and you're good to go, feel free to log out. But for anybody who wants to stick around and ask more questions or discuss anything they've seen today, we will stick around and make ourselves available to you for that. I'm going to guess that we probably don't have any questions, so feel free to log out at this point if you're still in the meeting. But otherwise, I think we're done for the day.
I thought I saw someone typing, but then it went away, so I don't see anything in the chat right now. So.
Alrighty.
I'm going to stop recording now.
Yeah. Yep. Speak now or